Hello everyone, thank you for joining, and today we are going to talk about Cisco 9166D1, which is available in Catalyst Wireless, and it can be used for on-prem as well as on cloud. Same hardware, two options to be used. So before we begin, try to understand the purpose and design for it and where we actually use it. So in high density design requirements required to understand, and it has a lot more details are out there, how we design it before actually go ahead and configure on any of the platform. We need to understand type of application, throughput, number of concurrent clients, and we need to consider if there are 120 students in a class, consider twice the device to design, and then try to understand which wireless band it is going to be used. Wireless standards that will be considered, not all of them are going to be on the latest one, but what would be the minimum will be there. Considering 802.11 AC would be a good choice, and then channel width, best to consider the least one, 20 megahertz. Average number of clients with mix, number of streams that they can connect. For example, laptops have 3 streams, while an access point with just 1 stream. And when I say stream, it's number of antennas that is possible. And we will go into much more details into other sessions about high density design, and we will have multiple sessions around it. So let's dive into it to understand the requirements and the purpose behind 9166D1. So especially in higher education, we have seen it that there are classrooms where we have more than 50, 60, 100, 120, and we have seen even 300 students in it. Having omnidirectional or an external patch antenna wasn't patchwork because it requires those cables, dart connectors, and much more. Similarly, when I designed a hangar previously, like 10 years back, we had very limited options out there with patch antennas to provide in areas where we required coverage. And of course, if we go with internal access point, then we know that over the time that weather conditions, hallways, and especially in healthcare or in enterprise, we require multiple access points in those areas. So the perfect way of designing in those areas will be choosing our 9120 AXE with 6 dBi antenna, 9130 AX access point AXE with 6 dBi, or we have Meraki MR46E with antenna 3E6. So limited options out there. And that's where we designed 9166D1 to remove and avoid those bulky cables, expensive adapters, and areas for failures over time that could cause where the issues could happen, and it will be more difficult for operations team to go ahead and fix it. So less component amount of providing a right way of having the coverage and the most cleanest looking way. So for omnidirectional, we have 9166i that we have already talked about previously. 9166D1 has been designed with 6 GHz, which goes with 60 by 60, 2.4 and 5 goes with 70 by 70. And it will be perfect use in scenarios like warehouses, high density classrooms, auditorium rooms that we talked about it, hallways, those are the other areas, hangars. This is more about overall architecture. It will be similar to 9166i. That will be 4x4 antennas for all 3 bands, 2.4, 5, and 6. And as we have seen in 9166i, we will have an option to use the third radio in 5 or 6 gigahertz, depending where we are using it. So this is what my little lab setup over here. Wanted to figure it out, have a combination of 9136s, 66s, even 9130s over here, and our 9166D1. So connecting that, iPhone 15 Pro does prefer connected to 9166i, sorry over there, and they were just 10 feet away from there. Those boxes that you see, that's where I kept my iPhone 15 Pro, and it shows 9166i, as we can see over here. It was being selected, and it did prefer 6 gigahertz. Now, I live in a house with a 3-story where my lab is in the attic, and I sit near this window around this area. So considering that, what I will prefer is at least I will be having some form of connectivity. So in 9800 wireless controller, I was able to have that 9166i, 9166D1. So it was transitioned to 9166D1 when I moved here on the first floor. And as you can see, if we zoom out a little bit, that it can have 77 dBm and 16 dB signal quality, of course, but it was still preferring 802.11ax, which is the most interesting part. So a configuration point of view, it is similar to all other internal access points, since we have the patch antenna internally over this access point. No additional configurations are required in 9800 or in cloud version. Have any questions? Let us know. Thank you.